What's up, residents? Jacob here, and of course, I have my buddy.
Hello, it's Alistair. Back once again.
Alright, so we're just gonna straight up talk Godzilla King of the Monsters and the spoilers that came with the movie.
Yes.
Godzilla and the Monsters. How do you feel Godzilla was represented? How he was just the whole complete Godzilla picture in King of the Monsters?
You know, I think it's a brilliant time to be in when, you know, giant monster representation is at its peak, really. I'm so glad that all these actors are being chosen to represent giant monsters of their actual ethnicity. Now, the series, you know, it's been always at least crowd pleasing, and the critics have liked it. So, you know, coming around to King of the Monsters, the fans seem to love it, at least more than they did for the previous films. I think it's less dividing in that areas, but the critics, they don't really like it. And there's obviously quite a few reasons for that. But one of the things that they all pretty much agree on is that Godzilla himself is absolutely beautiful. He's amazing. You know, the sense of scale is definitely there still. The visual effects are absolutely beautiful. I think the only complaint I've really seen from that area is that people call it like messy, or you all call the audio messy, and it's like, well, what do you expect? There's giant buildings being pushed over.
Yeah, I mean, if there was giant monsters duking it out in the middle of the city, you probably couldn't hear anything, so, I mean, whatever with that. But, yeah, I mean, overall, Godzilla, like, he looked pretty badass. I mean, Godzilla always usually looks badass in one way or another, but I like this Godzilla. I feel like, you know, even no matter what people think of this movie, I feel like the MonsterVerse Godzilla is just...
It's a thing of beauty.
He's great in a lot of ways.
It personifies everything about Godzilla throughout the years, throughout a 65-year runtime. You know, I think that's what thing this film's done well. Obviously, it's kind of combined some of the cheesy aspects of the Showa era with some of the more sci-fi aspects of the Heisei era, whilst simultaneously, you know, giving that message about, you know, the social economic message about, you know, the world and the global climate and everything like that. So I think it's managed to make it like everything kind of put together, because I think even Gareth Edwards' film, that one was straight up a Heisei film. Like, there wasn't much else, there wasn't much cheesiness about it. Obviously the message was definitely there, probably stronger than anything since Godzilla, you know, the 1954 original. So it's nice to see that they've, obviously Mike Doherty is a huge Godzilla fan, so it's nice to see someone that actually knows about the series that can make it, or do it justice.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, I know exactly why people aren't liking this movie, and that's because it is, to a point, a modern Toho movie. Now, I love Godzilla. I love the creature Godzilla. I love the monster action. I love everything that Godzilla stands for. But, you know, if you actually watch the Toho movies, they're not very spectacular movies. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just their style. That's their theme, you know? And that's cool.
That's why I love it.
That's why everybody that is a Godzilla fan loves it. And that's why with King of the Monsters, you see everybody kind of freaking out on one side, saying that they can't stand it. And then you have everybody else that is just like, oh my god, I love it. And it's just really just showing that they wanted to make an American Toho Godzilla movie. And yeah, Toho Godzilla movies aren't for everyone, but Godzilla is for everyone, and this message needs to be delivered hardcore, specifically after we've seen Godzilla's new freaking moves in this movie. What do you think? Spoiler, what do you think about that damn, what was it, that nuclear pulse that he used to kill Ghidorah?
He's going thermonuclear, yeah, God, you know, it's amazing. I remember, obviously, I remember sitting there and just kind of having my mind blown, because I thought he would just like kind of do his atomic breath. I kind of wish he did, but it was nice, you know, it was a cool new move that I'd not seen before. He just kind of like did like an atomic stomp, basically. That's how I describe it. And when I was sat there in 4D, in 4D, the whole cinema had like a wind machine. So whenever the blast went off, like you just got like blast of wind in your face as well, and there was like flashes, and you were getting sprayed out, and it was you know, 4DX was something I never even thought I'd be able to experience as a Godzilla fan, and seeing something like that, which is just personifies everything I love about Godzilla, the badass action, the human drama, and the awesome special effects, like it legit brought a tear to my eye. It was something of beauty.
Yeah, I've always wanted to experience one of those 4D sort of things. They've been around for a while now, but I think in movies that's still pretty new. You used to have to go to like theme parks and stuff, but
Yeah, it's definitely become, at least I've not seen any other kind of fan base react to it the same way I've seen with the Godzilla community. Like, obviously people are like, go see it in IMAX, but I've not seen anywhere else, any other film fan base been like, oh yeah, go see it in 4DX,
yeah,
because it
for
doesn't
sure.
seem
No,
like
yeah.
any other film would be designed for it like that. But in this
Yeah.
film, when like you've got the Argo that goes into the cloud during the scene where the Rodan's chasing them, then there's just darkness, and then there's like flashes, and then the actual strobe lights flash in the room, and it's in 3D as well, so Ghidorah actually looks like he's coming at you, and it's just so good.
Yeah, what do you think about the other monsters they showed up? Obviously that weird mammoth monkey freaky hairy guy. We
I
have
think it's Behemoth.
this
I think that's the one that
Yeah,
we
that's the name of him.
theorized, or at least we saw it was
There's
Behemoth.
the spider guy that came up, a couple different bug ones, and then of course another female Muto. Why do you think she was around?
It wasn't even just a female one. It was like I think it was like an alpha or something, because it had extra little spiky bits on it. Like, it wasn't just the straight up Muto model. It was something
May have been
different
just a
about it.
more
It
aged.
wasn't a prime. Some people thought it was a prime, but it's maybe it's just an older
Yeah,
female
for
one.
sure. Yeah, I just thought all those monsters were
But
cool.
they're cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the last shot in general is just one of the best things, one of the best shots I've ever seen, at least
Yeah.
in terms of Godzilla. And I was like, no, don't go to the credits, please don't. I want to see
Yeah,
more.
I know that's really when it started.
But
To amp up
I was left
that
satisfied
last
still.
little bit for sure. Yeah, the destruction overall, especially in that last scene after he does his nuclear pulses and just like flatlines all of the city. I mean, there was a lot of good
Completely
destruction in
flattened.
this movie. A lot of people are saying not enough destruction, but what do you think? Obviously, the thing that pops into my head is when Godzilla slams Ghidorah through the building. Do you think it needed more of that?
I love that
It's
shot.
an amazing shot, but do you think it needed more?
Thing is, I remember in the first Godzilla film, it was in the one from 2014. I remember a lot of people complaining about the same thing because he wasn't outright walking through buildings, like he would have done in the Toho films. But obviously, this one's a bit more of a mindful monster. He's not careless. Obviously, I assume walking through buildings is still relatively painful, or at least kind of annoying or a
Yeah, I mean,
nuisance.
it'd be like walking for us, like walking through a giant cardboard box. Like, yeah, we could do it, but like, why?
Yeah, why? The only time he ever kind of does go through a building is when he's doing it to hurt the other monsters.
Yeah.
So obviously it kind of obviously must be kind of annoying. But I think there might have been just enough.
Yeah.
I think seeing an entirely flattened Boston was something I didn't even expect, because obviously that's someone's hometown, and someone's probably going to watch this film and go, "I'm personally offended by this."
Oh, I'm sure someone's gonna
to see
be offended.
where that's my house right there.
That's my house, dude. That's my damn house. Yeah, I mean, the destruction was good. I'm not gonna get too over annoyed that there wasn't enough buildings falling down and all that, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, I think there was obviously enough destruction to prevent San Francisco from being repopulated. Because I think in this film, don't you see San Francisco being completely overgrown?
Yeah, it has some like apocalypse. It kind of reminded me of what was it called? The movie with Will Smith and the dog. Crap. I Am Legend. It kind of had that kind of feel with New York, how everything was starting to grow up, and they said because like the radiation coming from the monsters kind of amped it
It's
up.
making like all these prehistoric kind of trees, and it was so cool.
It was cool. I do kind of wish that there. I don't know. There was a lot of stuff open.
I'd like to visit those kind of cities, like kind of like. Well, I guess we kind of already did that in 2014, but it's cool to see the general world, but I can't even speak today. The world building of that film is really good because it makes everything feel real. It makes it feel like it happened. In something like the Marvel films, like Avengers, they don't even really take notice of the fact there was giant spaceships attacking entire cities, and they didn't really acknowledge the fact it probably caused a lot of death and a lot of destruction. In this film, they just you outright see the city, and that it was completely not recoverable, assuming probably because of the radiation and everything like that. And everything's going to be in complete disarray come Godzilla versus Kong, because Boston being entirely flattened, Washington D.C. entirely
all the cities
flooded
around the world, because all the Titans came out from everywhere. Like Godzilla versus
yeah.
Kong, there's gonna be so many Titans. hopefully more than what we've seen of. Like this one, they were just kind of used as like, I don't know, like builder of the excitement,
They were
and then at
side
the end
things,
shot,
basically.
it was
I'd
just kind of
like
like
to have
to
seen
make a
more of the
point.
destruction, because whilst you recognise they're there, obviously Millie Bobby Brown's character Madison Russell obviously goes out of way to steal the Orca to distract the Ghidorah and prevent the other monsters from attacking the cities. But they didn't really emphasise that was happening, because a lot of people have left the theatre saying, "Oh, Madison Russell didn't really do anything," but she did a whole lot. She probably saved millions of people's lives by doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
But you don't really acknowledge or put two and two together and go, "Oh yeah, what she did stopped those Titans from attacking the cities." But she did. She saved millions of people's lives.
Speaking of saving a life, how do you think about the classic complete tribute to Toho films and Mothra sacrificing herself, her energy going into Godzilla, juicing the big boy up and turning him all beefed out and amplified, and pretty much what allowed him to beat the hell out of Ghidorah, because he wasn't going to win until that happened. So,
Well, I never really cared about Mothra before. Like, obviously, that's probably controversial, but like, she's always just kind of been like there, and I've been like, oh, it's the one that I don't really care about. But like in this film, I went from not really caring to really caring. I really like the character. Obviously, I think that's partly down to how great the character model is, and how great the animations are, because they make her so emotive. And I mentioned that in my reviews, that they make a moth look expressive, which I didn't even think was possible. And you genuinely make her feel like she cares about Godzilla.
Yeah, if the world was a perfect place, a Mothra movie would have been good before King of the Monsters, but we know that it's not.
Yeah, better than Rebirth of Mothra, please.
Yeah, those movies are they're okay.
Trashy. But it's a bit confusing though, because obviously they mentioned that Godzilla's going thermonuclear anyway. So obviously the attack, like him going red and demolishing Ghidorah, basically was already hinted at. Like that was already a thing that was happening. But Mothra kind of obviously sacrificed herself, turned into fairy dust, and then got absorbed into Godzilla's skin. Then he turned red a little bit. So I'm like, well, what was the ability? Was it the radiation overcharge, or was it Mothra, or was it both? And
yeah, I mean, I don't know. But what do you think about like the different camera angles? And some people don't really like how the fights are so close. There's some shakiness. There is once again people really not happy that every single shot of the monsters, it's either raining, dark, or there's fog or smoke or something.
I don't so much mind the fact that it's at night or it's in smoke or rain, because at the end of the day you're seeing giant hulking beasts. But
no, I think
from a filmmaking perspective, being at nighttime not only helps the CGI, improve the CGI, make it more realistic, because you can hide it behind these effects. But the fact it's so dark and gloomy is obviously meant to represent the fact that it is the darkest time of these years, like the most recent years. It's at dark times, and it represents that contrasty kind of element. So it's not just kind of straight up, oh, we want to put it in nighttime because it's cheaper. Like, I'm assuming they do it because it makes it look dynamic, it looks dramatic, and obviously from a story perspective, it's meant to be more
intense, mood setting.
Intense, intense and moody. So it's not just there to hide cheap CGI. It's obviously there for a reason. But in regards to the actual camera work, the fact there are quite a lot of close-up shots where it does shake a lot and it doesn't show a lot, and it's quite disorientating. It cuts away quite a lot. You never get really long shots of the monsters fighting, and that's probably one of the biggest disappointments in the film, because they hyped up how much monsters were going to be in this film, and to be honest, there's probably not much more than the previous film.
Yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, it didn't. I mean, altogether they were around much more, but especially with Godzilla, I mean, it wasn't that much more compared to what you would think it was.
No, maybe like a minute or more or two.
It was hard to tell, yeah.
But like the scenes that you do get of him, a lot of them, it's hard to tell what it is. In 2014, you can outright bloody tell what that is. Obviously, there's a few, at least in the Blu-ray release, I know there's quite a big issue about how it's way darker than the actual cinema release. And I think there was an issue with the actual formatting, or at least coding for something, getting it on Blu-ray. And I think that's partially, I'm just conspiracy theory here. I think that's why they haven't actually released a 4K Blu-ray of it yet. I think they've literally lost the file. I think someone's lost the file. Don't quote me on that, but the fact they haven't released a 4K Blu-ray of it yet, but they have for Kong Skull Island, makes me think that they literally don't have the file. And they've already announced a 4K Blu-ray for this film, so they definitely like doing it. But they just haven't done it for 2014. But yeah, so the camera work is probably one of my biggest issues. Outside of that, I didn't have that much of an issue with the script. A lot of people are saying it's absolutely horseshit. But
I mean, it wasn't really that bad. I seen all that stuff before I went. It's a bit
cheesy, and that's about it.
Before I went and watched it, and I was expecting something a bit more crappy. I understand where a lot of the negativity is coming from, but as far as the story and the human characters go, I'm like, this isn't that bad. I've seen a lot worse movies get treated a lot better, if you know what I'm saying. There's some really to good movies that have come out in the last few years, and just because they've done a certain couple things that we won't get into, everybody loses their mind about how great these films are, and then I go and watch it, and I'm like, really, people? So this is kind of just...
Well, that's because you can lower your expectations, I guess.
I guess.
You can lower it before you watch it, which I kind of did before watching it. I think,
did too.
Yeah, well, obviously you had the 48% original Rotten Tomatoes score, and then it went up to 56, and then it just plummeted to 40%.
I think everybody hopped on the hate train when it went back down.
Everything... you're seeing all this stuff about Forbes and Variety and stuff. It seems like someone over there just bloody hates the film. Not even that, but the franchise. You're seeing how it's completely flopped and why it's failed. It's it's been out for 3 days.
Yeah.
Give it some time.
Well, it's the Marvel effect. If you don't make a bazillion dollars in the first 2 days, then you aren't good. Thanks, Marvel. You made it crappier for other films, but whatever.
But whatever, man, that doesn't matter because they I wouldn't be surprised if all those networks, or at least all their websites, are owned by Disney.
Hey.
I wouldn't be surprised.
To Dangerville, we covered dinosaurs, Godzilla, and freaking controversial freaking
conspiracy theories.
That's what we do.
Ooh. Yeah, so one bit I was quite surprised about was because, obviously we were told about that the end credits was going to be there, and I sat through it
expecting Kong,
thinking it was going to be a Godzilla versus Kong, at least Easter egg or hint, and it wasn't. Or was it? It's difficult to know at this point. But it's obviously, if you've seen the film, it's a decapitated head of King Ghidorah that was chopped off in the
Godzilla bit that
Pacific
thing
Ocean.
Off. Yeah, he's like...
Yeah. And then it followed by an awesome scene of King Ghidorah's head growing back. But the actual head that was decapitated, obviously, what does it mean, Jacob? What does it mean?
What does it mean? Well... If you aren't a Godzilla fan, it means that's probably setting up Mecha Godzilla. If you are a Godzilla fan, then you definitely
King
know
Ghidorah,
it.
God.
Oh my God! Freaking put me on the spike! I have Godzilla on the mind. He is the king of the monsters and all that. But yes, Mecha King Ghidorah is pretty much hardcore setup. Now, I don't know if it's going to be in Godzilla vs. Kong, if he's going to be the main bad guy, or they were expecting...
Well, it's difficult to say because Charles Dance has said that he's not in Godzilla vs. Kong.
True.
So if they do go forward with it, for some reason he's not in it, which is doesn't really make sense because
his son
he was
takes
a really good
over and
I
he
liked
dies.
him as a villain.
Yeah, they didn't
really
use him
him
enough. But, yeah, either way, it just pretty much either sets up for Mecha King Ghidorah, either in Godzilla vs. Kong, or they thought that, maybe if it keeps going, they could do it later on. That would make...
Which is the interesting part.
That would make it kind of silly.
That's really the part that's interesting the most.
Because what's the point of it?
It's not been done. It's not like it's not been done before. They did it. They did the same thing with Pacific Rim Uprising. They had that after credit scene, and obviously that one's not going to get a sequel. No. But with this one, I was most interested because I was like, okay, so he's not in the sequel, but if this promises more movies after, who's to say that it has to be, a $150 million movie? Who says it can't be like a series or something like that, where they just explore the lore and have an occasional show up by a monster? That'd be pretty cool.
True.
It would probably be one of the most expensive series of all time, but still be pretty cool.
Yeah, unless they go back to
maybe they
suits.
do it in anime or comic book form.
They go back to Suits.
Go back to Suits, yeah. But it's interesting because obviously Legendary thought that this film would probably earn a lot more than it actually did. All of the at least box office estimates said it would earn about $45 to $55 million. And if you recall, I said that's probably bang on target. Yet you still had people saying it's going to earn $126 million in its opening day.
There's too many people
not,
getting too high and everything, and just is what it is.
It's great. It's perfect to get hyped about things, but don't mix up personal hype with box office estimations. They're two different things.
You know what?
More monsters doesn't necessarily mean more money.
You know what? We're gonna finish this right here. You said don't worry about the box office. Hey guys, no matter what happens at the end of the day, let's stop freaking out about the box office for King of the Monsters, and let's just be a fan of Godzilla.
It's a non-issue.
It's being, like, I can't get online, obviously being Godzilla YouTubers, like, I can't go a day or a minute without getting online and seeing people complain about this. Back in the day, meaning, like, 10, 15 years ago, this sort of opening was badass, just because Marvel and the Avengers and all these shenanigans from them make it seem like a movie's a failure if it doesn't make $1 zillion in the first day. Let's just not worry about it. People used to not care. Let's go watch the movie. Don't watch the movie.
The film will be fine. It's going to earn its money back. Everyone at Legendary who made the film has gotten paid. Like,
they're going to get their money back. It's not going to be the end of the world. Yeah, we may not get more MonsterVerse movies, but we're going to get more Godzilla movies eventually, no matter what they're called. So,
funnily enough, though, this film in Japan has earned more in its box office weekend than Shin Godzilla, which
makes it number
as
one, right?
Broke records. So this film is doing especially well in China.
Because it's the ultimate
I think
Godzilla.
86% better than Skull Island in international waters. So it's doing fine.
It's because they made it
Domestic
like the Toho
waters
movies.
aren't the only thing that exists in the film market. Just give it a bit of time. Let people watch it. You'll be okay. You'll survive.
Godzilla King of the Monsters is a grower, not a shower.
Sorry? Excuse me?